Hello, hello. This is a new experience for me. It is 9 o'clock here in New Zealand, and because the world is a little bit different than we thought it was going to be at this time last year, we were experimenting with some Instagram Live tastings and action. Hi to you all as you're joining from wherever you are in the world. It's cool to have you here. My name's Kat. I'm the Wine Communications Manager for Cloudy Bay. Now, normally that means that I get to taste a lot of wine, drink a lot of wine, and hang out with visitors that come to Cloudy Bay here in New Zealand, and obviously not able to do that at the moment, which is really sad. So I have been invited to come on here and do a little tasting for you guys this morning. I don't normally sit here at my dining room table and drink wine at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to make that really clear. I wait till at least 10 o'clock. Yeah, hi everybody. It's great to have you here. I'm just going to taste two wines today. The sunshine here has kind of blanked out the labels a bit. But we've got the Cloudy Bay 2019 Sauvignon Blanc, which I'm going to taste first with you guys, and then we've got the Koko. So it's all about Sauvignon Blanc this morning, and what better breakfast wine can there possibly be? Now, hopefully, I do know that a lot of you are joining from United States, and I've got some people from Germany and Australia, a few New Zealanders also up early and joining us this morning. So this is wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. I pre-poured so that no one has to actually watch my very unsteady pre-coffee hands pouring wine. So we've got the Sauvignon Blanc 2019 in the glass at the moment. Yeah, I'll definitely save these. No problem, Nikki, that's not a problem. So 2019 was a dream vintage. It was a cool start to the year, but it meant that there wasn't a lot of crop on the vine, so it was quite a small vintage for us. But that meant that once the summer came really good, the vines ripened the grapes really perfectly, and we had the absolute dream finish to the season. So we had a bit of rain before Christmas, got to Christmas, and everything just brightened up, and we had almost no rain all the way through to harvest, which was really, really good for the Sauvignon Blanc. As a result, when you smell the wine, I feel like you can really smell that summer. It's got a kind of warm, rich passion fruit character. It's got notes of citrus, grapefruit peel, kaffir lime leaf. I always find that there's like orchard blossoms in there. There's something a little bit floral. I just love the smell of it. It takes you back to a really beautiful summer's day. It's autumn here at the moment. It's a little bit cold. It is brightly sunny. It's beautiful, but all the vines are turning orange, and this just reminds me of when everything was still green and the grass was just beginning to dry. Just beautiful. Tasting now. I am swallowing. It's 9 o'clock and I'm swallowing. It's going to be an interesting day. Again, just that really bright, refreshing citrus, a little bit of minerality, beautiful, fine acidity, really refreshing in your palate. Now, in terms of how this is made, the actual winemaking is quite simple. So we do machine harvest these grapes. They're the only grapes that we machine harvest for Cloudy Bay wines. Everything else we handpick. The grapes come into the winery and they're fermented in stainless steel tanks. Every single batch, we have a large number of vineyards across the region. Every single batch is fermented separately, and that gives us these amazing options for blending. And blending is what it's all about for our Sauvignon Blanc. That's the most important thing that we do with the Sauvignon Blanc. So it will ferment and it will sit for a little bit, and then come June, we'll all get together and we'll taste all the different batches and grade them, and only the best ones will make the blend. So we'll taste probably around 100, 120 different parcels of wines, and then sort of finesse it down to what will actually get into the bottle for Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc. It's really, really important that only the best makes it in there. And we take that responsibility very seriously, and it does mean that quite a few things don't actually make it, which if you're an accountant for the firm can always be a little bit of a tricky message, but it's really, really important for us to make sure that when you pick up a bottle of Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc, you're absolutely never disappointed. If we have any questions as we go, please do stick them on the messaging. I'm a little bit squinty trying to read all the messages, but I will try and get to as many of your questions as I possibly can, so feel free to ask anything. But yeah, so it's Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc, summery drink. I think it's just beautiful. Once you can go outside with your friends again, you can sit outside and just drink it. You don't have to necessarily do a food match, but if you want to, I was gifted some beautiful Cloudy Bay clams yesterday, which I've got here. And those Cloudy Bay clams, just steamed, just super fresh. They came out of the ocean yesterday, I think. Super fresh, just steamed with some herbs and some citrus, a little splash of wine in there possibly, and just absolute perfect match. Cooking with Hobbs, roughly how many parcels went into the wine? I think this one was about 82 parcels in total, so it's quite a complicated blend. We also ferment a tiny bit in large oak cuves, which just gives us a little bit of extra texture in there as well. So while most of it's in stainless steel, we do add a little bit of texture with having those bigger, large oak formats. The other thing that goes really well with the Sauvignon Blanc as well is, I don't think you can see that very well, is goat's cheese, which is a classic match if you're drinking Sancerre in France, but it also works here. We've got really wonderful local producers here with goat's cheese. Cranky Goat is that one, so I would definitely recommend that. Just a cheese platter in the sun, glass of Sauvignon. You couldn't be happier. And now, we'll do a little bit of compare and contrast. This is, the light in here is not ideal, is Koko. Now, Koko is also Sauvignon Blanc. This is the 2016 vintage. I think in the United States, I heard that you might still be on the 2015 vintage, which is an extraordinary vintage. Great vintage, got amazing reviews through Decanter magazine. 2016 is our current vintage in New Zealand, and what we were pouring in the winery in Cellar Door when we were still open. Now, Koko is a really special wine. It is a barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc. Now, we were one of the first people in New Zealand to do that, and it gives it a really, really unique style. The fruit for Koko comes from the same sort of area as the fruit for the Sauvignon Blanc, but it is grown a little bit differently. We crop it a little bit lower. It's from some of our older vines. It's from some of our warmer sites. And what we're looking to do is make sure that the fruit gets really, really, really ripe, really delicious, really concentrated. And then it can get the special treatment of being fermented in barrels. So we will hand harvest that. It's often some of the last fruit that we pick. I think we picked the last Koko for the 2020 vintage on, I want to say it was Wednesday last week, I think. So it's one of the last things. We want to make sure that it's super, super ripe. And once it's hand-picked, comes into the winery. It is put into the presses as whole bunches, and then the juice is settled for a little bit before being put into barrel. Now, we will often wild ferment this, but it just depends on the vintage. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, and we do reserve the right to inoculate with a selected yeast if we need to. It will be in barrel for between 11 and 15 months, depending on the vintage. And we kind of let it do its thing. We try to be a little bit more hands-off with most of the wines that we make. So it would go for Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Koko, but we're tasting all the time. Our winemaking team will go through and they'll taste the barrels constantly throughout that period of maturation and make sure that they know exactly what's going on with each batch. Again, as with the Sauvignon, there's definitely a blending exercise, but a lot of the selection has already been done in the vineyard. And so it's not such a huge number of parcels, it's a small number of parcels, and it's just making sure that the balance is right. Now, the character of a barrel fermented Sauvignon Blanc is something that is quite different from anything similar to the Cloudy Bay Sauvignon that perhaps people are more used to. And it can be quite surprising for people when they do first taste it. The barrel ferment gives it a real peachy, apricot-y character straight off. It's very much in that white stone fruit space. It's still got some of that florality. I think it's the florals that carry across. Orchard fruit florals, and then this amazing kind of honey acacia warm spice character that comes through. It's just a really warm, enveloping, more rounded character on the nose. On the palate, it envelops your mouth. I always think with Koko, it fills your palate across from side to side, whereas the Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc perhaps has a more of a kind of straight down your tongue kind of texture. It's very linear and quite refreshing. This coats the inside of your mouth. Franny, can you buy Koko in Switzerland? I feel like you probably can, and I will drop you the details for how that is possible. It's also a kind of preserved lemon character that comes through, that just like warm and ripe citrus. It's not a really zingy citrus. It's a very, very ripe character. And for me, this is one of our most exciting food wines. It is a real dream to match with foods. It's got really elevated acidity, but like I said, it's still got this mouth coating richness on the palate, and the minerality, it finishes super clean. So it's a real chameleon when it comes to matching with food. Had the Cloudy Bay clams earlier. I actually cooked these yesterday with some cream and garlic and some chorizo, and with Koko that would be absolutely stunning. But I also really love to match it with things like roast pork. The fattiness of the pork is cut through by the beautiful acidity of the wine, but then the wine also has this kind of enveloping roundness, so it doesn't get dominated by the pork. Can Koko age? Yes, absolutely can. In fact, both of these wines can age. And that has reminded me, one of my friends said, make sure that you tell them that the wines can age. Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc in a really good warm year ages beautifully. Now, our recent warm years would be 2019, 2016, 2015, 2013, 2010. All of those will age beautifully. We are currently pouring at work the 2006 vintage to our VIP visitors that come and join us for dinners and things like that. And it is beautiful. As it ages, it gains this kind of honeyed complexity, a spicy character. It starts to sort of evolve into something that looks almost a little bit more like Koko. Obviously, you don't see those older vintages around very often. We're very privileged in the winery to have a really good library, and I hope one day some of you will be able to come and join us and enjoy that opportunity to taste those wines. Koko, this is the 2016 vintage, so it's obviously already 4 years old, and it's our current vintage now. I have drunk some very, very old Kokos, and again, they hold up beautifully. It is a wine built to last. It is, it's almost bulletproof. It gains a lot more complexity. It becomes much, much more savory. But if you bought a bottle of the 2016 Koko, I would think you would easily give it 10 years. And probably quite a lot beyond if you could resist it for that long. Problem with my cellar is nothing ever lasts that long in there. Great to hear you had some 2005 Sauvignon. Yes, that was another of the great years. 2005, 2006, beautifully warm years. So definitely built to last with those Sauvignon Blancs. 2020 vintage. It's been a tough one. It's been an adventure trying to get the grapes in under quite stringent conditions under lockdown. But all signs are that this is going to be a great vintage. So very much looking forward to sharing those wines with you in the future. It is looking like it's going to be a really, really good one for Sauvignon, for Koko, for all of our wines, in fact. I think it's going to be a lot of fun once those come out, and hopefully we are all out when the wines come out. That will be the best thing. Oh, hi from the UK. I'm a UK girl originally, long way from home now. And yeah, so I'm probably gonna go and have the rest of my day. My daughter has to be homeschooled at the moment, so I'm gonna join her and try and make sure that she's learning some stuff while we're all in lockdown. But if you have any more questions, I'm just going to hang around for a couple more minutes and witter on. If you've got any more questions about Sauvignon Blanc, about the vintage, about Cloudy Bay, stick them up now, and I'm really happy to answer you. Hi, Jason. Cheers. It's been a lot of fun. This whole Instagram live thing is a new adventure. I like to talk. It is very strange feeling like you're talking to yourself. And it is, but it's great to be able to share our wines with you. I think when you go onto the Cloudy Bay Instagram, you can see some of Jim White's videos saved there for some of the stories that we've had over vintage this year. Like I said, it's been a real adventure. It's just been incredible how hard our teams have worked and how well our teams have worked under crazy conditions to get the fruit in. We're really fortunate that we've had amazing people from around the world join us for vintage and put so much effort in. And yeah, it's been a real learning experience, and it still is. It does seem like the business landscape is going to change and the way we communicate is going to change. So we're definitely going to be trying to keep you guys up in touch with kind of real Cloudy Bay life, some of our personalities over the coming weeks, that you can meet some of the the great people on the ground that we have, some of our team members, and experience some of what it's actually like here in New Zealand. And then hopefully we'll be free to travel and you can come and visit us and share some wines. And yeah, that 2020, it's going to be memorable in a lot of ways. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been great sharing my morning with you, and I hope to see some of you in the future. I might be back on here at some point, and I'm sure some of our other teams will be on as well. So in the meantime, look after yourselves, be kind to yourselves, be kind to those around you. I'm sure you all are. And cheers.